Well, it happened. The one thing a lot of us were dreading when the servers went down again back in January, LittleBigPlanet Online is officially dead. Not just one entry, all of them. The entire franchise can no longer be played online. No warning, no period of time to give the community a chance to archive anything. Just, hey, that thing you loved and spent time in, you're never seeing it again, just like all your previous relationships. Since 2021, LBP3 has been the only way to access any of the history of content in there. It was the last holdout, and with it being gone, it's all completely locked away now. 10 million! Like, I can't stress that enough. 10 million community levels are locked away now. And let's be real, this shouldn't be too surprising given that the franchise has been in a weird state of limbo the past few years where nobody knew what was happening with it. It had taken a beating in terms of recognition and identity. LBP.me has been down for God knows how long. Things weren't looking great, but this is still probably the worst way it could have possibly ended. That was 16 years of community-driven creativity, passion, and time people devoted for this franchise, and 99% of it just became lost media in a single second. I don't know why, but it makes me think of that Shepard quote from Modern Warfare 2, where instead of war, it's just like, 5 years ago, I lost millions of LBP levels in the blink of an eye, and the world just fucking watched. It's a really bizarre and melancholic feeling, honestly. Like, I can literally picture so many of these levels vividly in my head that I'll never be able to see or show anyone else ever again. All I have are memories now in my noggin. And I remember some oddly specific ones too, like playing a level where you were like an orange or some shit and had to collect food that was falling by grabbing it in their mouth. And now, if I ever were to explain that to anyone, most people would just be like, what the fuck is this guy talking about? And I won't have any proof of it. It wouldn't have even existed in their eyes unless they had also experienced it. Best I can do now is just draw a quick little thing in paint to describe what it looked like. All those bomb survival and shark survival levels, which maybe it was easy to complain about how many there were at the time, but now those are gone too. Unless someone recorded them before the servers went down, but that would probably be mostly for the really well-known levels. It's not going to really include all the other high-quality ones that didn't get as noticed, and now they probably will never be discovered. I had levels myself that I made when I was 10 or 11 that I will never be able to see again now, and that's heartbreaking. This is also the end of the Play, Create, Share tagline, by the way, if you remember that being used in games like Mod Nation Racers, LittleBigPlanet, Dreams.
Play, create, and share.
For platforms for games.
And if I sound bitter about this, it's because I honestly kind of am. This was a franchise that was at one point basically the mascot for PlayStation. Sackboy was on top of the world and pulling up to every place in existence. Remember when he showed up in PlayStation All-Stars, beat everyone's asses? Helped pull the PS3 out of the massive rut it was in at the time and give it a form of identity. Yet the past few years for this franchise have just had so many missteps that caused it to struggle and go downhill. I won't go into details because that's a topic for another time. There's tons of videos already talking about it ad nauseum, but even all this time later, there was still a core community dedicated to it. I would check back in every once in a while, and there would still be so many new levels to experience. The servers were always going to go down at some point, nothing lasts forever, but when that point happened, it should have been a celebration of how long it lasted and how much we all created on there. Now, given the circumstances, instead of a celebration, it's just going out with a whimper because of how poorly this whole thing was handled. If the servers were truly not fixable at this point, then at least put that as your reasoning. Don't say it's temporary, go silent for a few months and then come back like, haha, JK, it's permanent, see you guys later, and not elaborate at all. The franchise and the community deserved way better than this, and they didn't even get the chance to say goodbye to any of it. It also begs the question at this point, so what happens now? The logical answer of course is, well, it's probably over. Who knows if we're gonna ever see this franchise again anytime soon, if ever. I've seen some people pointing out that the actual servers that store all the levels is still active and we just can't access it anymore, and while I don't know if that's true, I also would not get my hopes up that this means anything. Sumo Digital hasn't worked on LittleBigPlanet itself for years at this point. Media Molecule is currently working on their new thing, but we don't even know what it will be yet. Steven Isbell, the community manager, did go back to work on the series again earlier this year, but now it's also kind of a question mark as to why he even went back if this was still going to happen. Like, is he still there? Who knows? In a perfect world, they would at least allow us to access the server one last time and archive things, but maybe there's not even a team there to do that kind of thing now, and honestly, Sony probably just doesn't care anymore either. I'm guessing in their eyes it will be more effort to fix than they would gain from it, even if it's at the community's expense. And hypothetically, if Little Big Planet is done, then what about Sackboy as a character? There have been attempts to broaden the franchise by making Sackboy specific titles that don't include the creation elements you'd expect from Little Big Planet, like Sackboy Big Adventure and Ultimate Sackboy, but we don't even know if those performed well. Sackboy has gotten a ton of DLC costumes though, so they have at least been giving that a bit more. Maybe that's an avenue they can keep using to continue the series in some form, but I know some people don't find that as special without the creation tools. Maybe the hope for a new Little Big Planet-esque creation game is Restitched, which is being made by the same team that released Return to Carnavalia on LBP3, but I also don't think that's fair for that team to suddenly have the pressure or expectation of needing to replace anything. It should be viewed on its own merits, even if it does look like a successor, you know? Ultimately, I'm just disappointed. I'm disappointed that this is how it ended, I'm disappointed at how the franchise has been treated the past few years, and I'm disappointed that what should have been a celebration of what Little Big Planet achieved is now overshadowed by the awful circumstances around its closure and how poorly it was honestly all handled. User-generated content is massive right now, with some of the biggest games adapting the same ideals that Little Big Planet helped innovate in 16 years ago, and lasting for that amount of time is no small feat either, yet it feels like it will never really get the recognition it deserves now. I'm not blaming the people who worked on the games or in the community in any way. I completely understand that this is also probably not ideal for them either, and I owe a huge debt of appreciation to Media Molecule and everyone else for letting me grow up with this series. I've been working on and off for the past year on a video that will hopefully focus on the positive lasting impact Little Big Planet had, which is really what matters in the end. And I normally don't put out content like this that sort of feels reactionary. I just cherish this series enough that I really wanted to say something about it in this moment. Who knows though, maybe this isn't the end, we'll get some good news eventually. Never say never of course, nothing's impossible, but until then, at least we always have the memories of it. Thank you to everyone who worked on it and helped provide that experience. For those of us who got to experience it, we know how magical it was in the end. And that can't be taken away at least, even if that sounds incredibly cheesy and I'm going to go curl up now.